Hi, recording artist JVonD here. I'm going to show you how I set up the Octatrack. It's very confusing, and this is mainly a jamming instrument. If you don't do live performance, I wouldn't really necessarily suggest the Octatrack, but for my live performances, it's pretty essential. This is my main out, so all the sound that's coming from all the other units on the Beatomatic goes through the Octatrack, and then this goes straight to the PA. So it's kind of important to make sure that you have everything mastered before you even come into this thing, and the samples in it have to be perfect. Otherwise, you'd have to run like a master channel with an EQ, which you don't want to do. So I'm just going to go over how I have my basic setup, and the goal is to build a template that you can kind of duplicate to make your life a lot easier going from song to song. Now, the hierarchy of the Octatrack is mainly like this part. You can click on the part area here. And I only use one part, so I don't even use parts. But coming down from the part area is like the banks. So you can have like 16 banks, which I just consider them songs. So 16 songs to jam with. And then you can have like 16 patterns. So 16 banks, 16 patterns. And then 16 scenes. Scenes are really cool, and I'll get to that later, but scenes you can use the crossfader with, which is really amazing. It's like key to the Octatrack, is using the crossfader in scenes. I think is really important. It's one of the main features. Got 8 tracks of audio, either coming in or playing through or playing within. My first two tracks are through channels. So if you double click it, you'll see you can select what kind of track you want to have. These are through channels. If you aren't slaving to a MIDI clock, then you can run these as pickup machines and actually have like a super multi-track looper inside it. But I never set it up like that because I used to have it set up like that, but I always find myself wanting to leave the option open to take a MIDI clock. So I just set them up as through channels. And then I have a main sampler channel that I can trigger all kinds of weird noises and scratch sounds. And then I have a static playback. So the sample channel is called a flex machine. So if you go out, you can go to flex. And then if click on this one and go out, there's a static. And so this static machine will have just like a background ambient sound if I want it, and I don't use it a lot, but it's there. And then these track 5 and 6 are beats, so those will be flex. The flex just means that you can kind of have it have the timing change. And it'll hold its pitch and stuff. So you don't want to have those static channels if you're going to be slicing your sample up and having them play. Time stretch is the word I'm looking for. So the flex channels are just another way of saying time stretch samples. And then I have another flex channel here, just like the other sample channel where I use for scratching sounds and stuff. I have one that I use for bass. So, and then the last one is a main output, the master track. So I like that a lot, and I'll show you what I do with that in a little bit. But mainly what you can do with that is have a couple of effects on it, and you can take everything coming in and out of the Octatrack through those 2 channels, and then have the effects like really make it go nuts and then play with people's ears. It's pretty cool. So basically the 2 through channels, 2 sample channels, 1 background ambient channel, and then the 2 drum channels, and that bass guy there. The way I set up the parts, if I can give you an example here, this is my sample channel here. Oh yeah! So if you hold function and go down, you can get to where you can set up your buttons down here. If you set them up as chromatic, what you can do is set your start slice and then play that sample in a chromatic scale like a piano, or you can go down the slots and play any one of the slots, sample slots, or you can, like, I usually have it set up as slices. So I'll take a sample and I'll slice it up. So if we go into here, double click that track button, and then go into the function bank or edit mode and zoom out, and let's see, you can see my slices here. Yeah. So I usually have a lot of this stuff set up in slice mode. And what you can do, what's really cool, is in the scenes that I like to do is have a scene set up as like a scratching reversal channel. So some of these songs have different setups, but that's the way you can kind of make it sound like kind of like a record player, is by reversing the rate. So if you're in your playback area, the rate there, you have to have your slices on, and then go to the rate area, and you can reverse it on a scene. So if I hold down the scene button and then I turn it all the way down. So you can do some pretty cool stuff with that. I usually have this set up to, let me go and fix that, damn it. There we go, just click it, get rid of it. I usually have this set up to really make an overall sound change. So, but the way I have this set up is in the pattern mode. It's very important. So you got your banks, that's all your songs. If you want to change your bank, you hold down bank, and then press the bank you want, and then click the pattern. So when you look at my pattern area, if you hold down pattern button, you'll notice that there's one blank one in the front. Okay, so I click that, hit play, and there's nothing playing. That means there's no tracks being triggered right now, but I still have audio playing through the through channels, which is nice. So there's some of my Reason stuff coming in, like my lightsaber synthesizers, my vocal, my turntable here coming through there, and I do have an extra lightsaber synth right here too. So those go through the first two tracks. Now this first pattern, if you hold down function and hit the scale setup, you'll see that it's in 16/16 scale, but what's important here is the master scale. So right there, if you notice, the master's at 16. What this will allow me to do is to break into any downbeat on that downbeat time. If you notice, if I click on, I'm going to turn it off for a second. I'm going to click on pattern 2. Pattern 2 is in 32 beats. Pattern 3, 32 beats. Pattern 4, 32 beats. Pattern 5 is 64 beats. So from 5 over, these are all 64 beats. So when I first break into a song, I'll usually be using either 1 through 4. And then I can make sure it's in time with whatever other sequencer is playing. Like, for instance, my Reason drum beat. That now it's off because I turned it off, but if I turn it on here, let me go back to 0. So there's the other one in Reason. That's my Reason drum beat. So when I hear that one turning and the downbeats, because sometimes I have like songs in Reason that start at different locations, because I have a 192 bar loop in Reason. And the reason I have that set up is because I have different length songs that I actually have in there as backing channels or tracks. And so I need to be be able to time up stuff with that, even though, you know, my beat clock is totally in time at all times, but sometimes the intros or choruses will get out of time, and having the 16 and 32 bar loops will fix that. So my first pattern has nothing. If I click play here and I go to number 2, this will bring in my samples, the T3 and the T7 here tracks. Let's see if it works. There it goes.
Come on now.
So then what I do with the patterns is actually use them to mute stuff for me. I'll mute tracks. Not by actually muting them, but by actually taking the steps out. So here's number 3. Pattern number 3 has the 2 drums. Pattern 2 has the sample and the bass channel. And then number 4 will have all of the tracks. Check it out. So once I find the downbeat, I can load up any one of these, and then I can move off into these other zones. So like zone or pattern 9 through 12 will have the drums and the bass. Check it out. So now you won't hear the samples. But what makes this nice is now I can enable that channel and actually play on top of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So if I enable pattern 5 through 8, it'll go in a big, 256 bar loop, and it'll mute the bass for me, and it'll have that top, that sample track playing. Well, the reason I do this is to have these fills come in, so it really accentuates the downbeat. Here's another one, number 8. I'm going to go into 13, 14, 15, 16, which has all the channels coming through.
Come on.
So it makes it really easy to kind of mute stuff for me. That's all I got to do is hold down pattern, hit the 4 buttons, let go, and it'll change for me. I can go back to just the samples.
Come on now.
4. Here we go, right?
Come on now.
Then back into the main 13, 16 has everything. What's cool is you can actually use the scratching samples over that channel.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now we're into the 15, 16 where the fill is. We'll go back to this 5, 6, 7, 8 pattern. Another cool thing is in the sampler, you can either play in your samples. Like this one here, if you notice, is on a different sample than what's the actual loaded into the track. This one here, if you hold it down, I guess that one isn't it. Let's see. See, this one is actually playing this DJ Brate one, JV Brate one, which is, that's just shortened abbreviation for the sample. The sample's actually the Harvey Celebrate sample. I thought this. Oh yeah, okay. So this one here is just a different Harvey Celebrate sample. The way you put these in is actually to let me go over to this other pattern. So you can either just have your recording button on and put it in manually, or if you hold down copy and hit play, you'll go in record mode, and you can add it in. There they are. You can get rid of this and hold down the trig here. This is the trig, so you hold it down and you can turn the level knob, and go to one of the other samples. A lot of these are beers. 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 You can have it beers. You can hold down the trig and then hit the left and right knobs and offset it if you want into the sequencer. Beers. You can reverse it. I don't know where that one thing is. Let me clear it. You can clear the track if you have your record light enable and hold function clear. Let me put in another one here.
Come on now.
So I can actually play a whole beat from this one trig. You can go in here and extend it. Extend the length of the sample or the slice. So now I got a whole beat on my sample channel. If you want to jam over it. So what's cool about this is you can just have that first kick drum on there if you wanted. You could have like a big bass drop and then be able to play over it. Also, if you wanted to, you could set this up for real-time recording.
Come on now.
And then record your changes. Now you'll see the green ones. The green ones are actually the ones that are making that sound turn. If I was to take this one sample here and re-trigger it, and then live record it.
Oh yeah. Celebrate.
Now you'll see it in there.
Celebrate.
So it gets pretty crazy. So if I bring in my patterns, so that's all saved on that one pattern now. So I could jam over it with my Reason or go back into the tune. Sounds like I changed the sample here. Something changed. I screwed something up. So if you wanted to change your song, you could click on the bank. I'll go to song 7, number 13. There we go. Now I want to show you what the crossfader does here. There we go, ready? I'm going to get some stuff going. Hold down the scene button and push on the buttons to change them. Make it trip out a lot. So clear out that. There we go. Right? All right, so like that master channel's sweet because you can set those scenes up. So if you put on like a deep phaser and like a compressor, you can like really make that stuff go crazy. Like you can hear it on my voice now, but you can make it even go even crazier. But I like to just mess with people's ears a little bit with this, and then come out of it into a hard slamming beat, and it's sweet. Let me bring in another sound here and see if I'll bring in this guy so you can really hear the difference there. So let me tell you about how I got the scene set up here. Scene setup also has kind of like a muting thing in it too, with the 2 drum channels. Number 4 is like my all clean. Number 1 is like the drums are muted, but like my sample sounds are like delayed, extended delayed. Number 5 is like the same as 4, but adds delay. And then number 6 through 8, it has like delays. The delays get a little thicker, and then I do some filter effects on it. Number 9 through 12, I kind of reserve to like change the pitch of like some of the samples, but I don't really use them that much. Number 13 and 14 are scenes that are usually reversal effects for scratching simulating. 15 is like an overall like super crazy phaser thing that affects all the channels going through. And then 16 is like a no drum beat. It's kind of like an all mute, except for there's like super extended mutes on like the sample channel. So if I go back here, I go to like, if I go to 5, this will have delay on that. And then if I go to 16, if I start a delay, and then I flip it over, usually the delays will be super extended. Let me see again here. So if I start this up, here's pattern 2 that has the bass and the trippy sounds. And if I scene over, so right now we're on number 5, which would usually be playing the drums, but I'm on pattern 2, so pattern 2 mutes these just by taking the triggers off. And then number 5 has the delays, so we're going to go to number 16 here. So you can hear that extending out. I usually don't use this reverb. I think it's got the dark reverb or something. Plate reverb. I usually don't use the reverb effects. I usually have like a crazy phaser on there. But you get the idea. So that's pretty much it. I hope you like the tutorial on how to set up the Octatrack. Now, when you want to save the template and reuse it, all you got to do is go in and take your bank files and just rename them a different number. So it would be like bank01, whatever, project or dot arrangement or whatever, work, I think it's called. You just rename that from 01 to 02, and then it'll be set up here, and then you can just go in and change your samples to different drum beats. It's really easy, and you can do that in the file manager inside the Octatrack, even if you don't want to plug in your computer, which I did like a session where I was just, wasn't feeling good and just laying in bed, and I ended up programming using a template. I programmed all 16 banks, 16 songs, fully set up in like 20 hours just by dicking around and using the template and renaming stuff. But here's another one of those. I like I like. But yeah, your time. Hope you liked the tutorial. We'll see you later, dudes. I like.